Something unusual is happening inside Team USA basketball right now. And the deeper you look, the harder it becomes to ignore the shift that's taking place. For years, the hierarchy inside women's basketball felt predictable. Veterans got the nod, the young stars waited their turn, and the decisions rarely shocked anybody paying attention. But this year, something changed. A single invitation, one piece of news, sent a shockwave through the entire basketball world. And it all centers around Caitlin Clark, making her senior national team training camp debut, while Aya Wilson stays home. Clark hasn't even stepped into Duke University yet, but the atmosphere around this December camp feels different. Fans feel it. Analysts feel it. Even players, whether they admit it publicly or not, feel it, because this camp isn't just a workout. It isn't just a trial. This is the exact place where the next decade of American basketball is shaped. It decides who represents the United States at the World Cup, who makes the Olympic roster, who becomes the face of the program moving forward. And Caitlin Clark walked into that conversation with a golden ticket, while Aya Wilson watched it unfold from the sidelines. And that's where the tension comes in. For over a year now, everything surrounding these two stars has been filled with subtle comments, social media posts, comparisons, and speculation. Most of it wasn't loud, but it was loud enough. You could hear it on broadcasts. You could see it in interviews. You could feel it in every debate happening online. Were these two on good terms? Was it rivalry? Was it respect? Was it jealousy? Or was it all being blown out of proportion? Before we get deeper, I want you to think honestly for a second. Do you believe Aya Wilson has been jealous of Caitlin Clark? Or is she simply a fierce competitor who got pulled into a narrative she never wanted? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the details I'm about to lay out will definitely make you look at the situation differently. When Wilson was asked earlier this year about all the noise around Clark, she tried to shut it down. She said she didn't pay attention to outside chatter. She said her focus was on her teammates, her season, and her responsibilities. And on the surface, that's fair. Most veteran stars don't publicly engage in drama. But then the timeline tells a different story. Let's start with the roster announcement itself. Sue Bird, one of the most respected figures in basketball and the managing director of Team USA, released the official list for camp. And right there at the top was Caitlin Clark. 18 names in total, but not one of them was Aya Wilson. And that's where the irony comes in. Wilson, a multi-time MVP, a champion, a dominant force for years, was left off one of the most important training camps of the entire cycle. Meanwhile, Clark, who Wilson's critics claim she doesn't care about, received the most validating invitation any player could ask for. Wilson has said over and over again that this Clark versus the world narrative is unnecessary. She said it isn't about race, it isn't about favoritism, and people need to let that idea go. But even she couldn't ignore what happened next, because while she defended herself publicly, the roster announcement created a reality that no quote could cover up. Team USA chose Clark, and Team USA did not choose Wilson. Now, to be clear, this decision isn't about whether Wilson is good enough. Everyone knows she is. Nobody doubts her talent, her accomplishments, or her reputation on the court. The issue is something different, something bigger. Team USA is shifting. They aren't building for today. They're building for the next Olympic cycle, the next generation, the next era. And that era revolves around Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't just a talented athlete. She's a cultural force. Her games break viewership records. Her highlights pull millions of eyes. Her jersey sales outpace entire teams. Corporations line up to sign her. Even golf fans know her name. No one in the WNBA, not a single player, moves the sport economy like Caitlin Clark does right now. And Team USA clearly understands that. But here's the part that really makes this story explode. The moment Clark started getting mainstream success last year, Wilson's social media activity suddenly changed. And not in a way you'd expect from someone who claims not to pay attention. When Clark signed her massive Nike deal, Wilson didn't publicly congratulate her. Instead, she launched a strange "I have a shoe too" post, promoting her own sneakers days after Clark's deal dominated the headlines. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. But the timing raised eyebrows. Then came the cryptic post. "What is delayed is not denied. My time is coming." Inspirational quotes that just happened to land right after Clark got more media coverage. When Clark won Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, one of the biggest honors in sports. Wilson started liking posts questioning whether Clark deserved it. She never said it out loud, but her online activities spoke volumes. It didn't help that Wilson also reportedly claimed she makes the same speaking fees as Clark, a statement so unrealistic that even her own fans had a hard time defending it. Clark has become one of the most requested athletes in America. Companies pay premium rates just to have her appear at their events for a few hours. That isn't a knock on Wilson. It's just the reality of Clark's massive cultural impact. But Wilson acting as if she's in the same economic bracket felt like pure insecurity. Every Clark accomplishment became an indirect Wilson reaction. Clark breaks a TV record. Wilson posts about veteran respect. Clark leads a comeback. Wilson shares something about championships. Clark appears in a national commercial. Wilson reposts criticisms of media bias. At a certain point, the pattern was too obvious to ignore. And now here we are with the ultimate comparison. Team USA made a decision, and that decision wasn't subtle. Sue Bird didn't flip a coin. She didn't play favorites. She evaluated what the program needs long-term, and she chose a player who represents the sport's global growth. Clark is a unifier. Kids love her. Adults follow her. Broadcasters rely on her to drive ratings. International fans know who she is. She's the first women's basketball player in years to become a household name beyond the sport. Wilson is a Hall of Fame level player, but Clark is a generational cultural phenomenon. This camp roster proves that Team USA is preparing for a future built around Clark's influence. They brought in Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, Aaliyah Boston, young stars who can grow alongside Clark for the next 5 to 10 years. It's the blueprint for the next dynasty, and Clark is the anchor. And the truth is, that has to sting for Wilson, because Wilson probably believed she'd be the veteran leader guiding the next wave of American stars. Instead, she's watching Clark take that role. She's watching her own former teammate, Aaliyah Boston, build chemistry with Clark. She's watching a new generation form without her. And whether she admits it publicly or not, that's a tough pill for anybody to swallow. But this story is bigger than personal feelings. It's about impact. Clark's presence doesn't just help Team USA win. It helps women's basketball grow globally. Her viewership numbers alone reshape media deals. Her sponsorships bring new money into the sport. Her popularity drives attendance in every arena she steps into. Wilson's success is incredible, but it has never created league-wide economic movement the way Clark's rise has. And that matters, especially for Team USA. In international sports, star power is currency. When broadcasters negotiate Olympic coverage, they look for faces that draw attention. Clark is one of those faces. She boosts ratings. She attracts sponsors. She expands the audience. Team USA isn't just thinking about basketball. They're thinking about ticket sales, global markets, and the future of the sport. That's why this invitation is bigger than a name on a list. It's a message. Clark isn't just a rising star. She's the centerpiece of the future. And Team USA is making that clear now early, before the next Olympic cycle begins. Meanwhile, Aya Wilson, one of the most accomplished players of her generation, isn't even in the room. And maybe that's the hardest part of all this, because Wilson's talent isn't the issue. Her resume isn't the issue. Her success isn't the issue. The issue is everything that has surrounded her over the past year. The insecurity, the quiet digs, the constant comparisons, the attempts to downplay Clark's impact. All of that backfired. Instead of elevating her status, it highlighted her frustrations. Clark never tried to tear Wilson down. She never responded to shade. She never posted anything cryptic. She just kept playing, kept improving, and kept winning people over. That difference, humility versus resentment, became impossible to ignore. And that contrast is exactly why this moment feels bigger than basketball. Because for the first time in a long time, the qualities that fans admire most, the work ethic, the composure, the humility, the consistency, are the same qualities that Team USA is rewarding. Clark has been under the brightest spotlight imaginable since college. Every mistake she made went viral. Every game she played turned into a national event. Every comment, every interaction, every emotion she showed was dissected by millions. And despite all that pressure, she never lashed out. She never blamed anyone. She never made things personal. She kept her head down and kept moving forward, even when the noise around her was deafening. Wilson, on the other hand, seemed to feel every shift in public attention like a personal attack. Whenever Clark got another endorsement, Wilson posted something vague. Whenever Clark broke another record, Wilson made a comment about veterans not being appreciated. Whenever Clark got praise for her impact, Wilson talked about the real ones who put in work long before Clark entered the league. It became a pattern that fans couldn't help but notice, and whether Wilson intended it or not, it painted a picture of someone who felt threatened rather than confident. That difference in energy matters, especially when the people evaluating you are some of the sharpest basketball minds in the world. Team USA doesn't just want great players. They want leaders. They want people who elevate the group. They want players who understand pressure, embrace responsibility, and don't fold when expectations get heavy. Clark has been proving her ability to handle that since she was a teenager. Wilson, despite all her accomplishments, has not shown the same level of stability when the conversation shifts away from her. And that's why the reaction to this camp roster has been so intense. Because for once, the selection wasn't about who has the most awards or the longest resume. It was about who carries themselves like the future of the sport. Team USA clearly believes Clark embodies that future. And honestly, it's hard to argue with them. Clark's presence changes everything. Not just for Team USA, but for the WNBA, for women's sports, and for American basketball as a whole. She brings in fans who have never watched a game before. She moves merchandise at a level no one has ever seen. She forces networks to upgrade their coverage and schedule more broadcasts. She introduces the sport to international audiences who normally wouldn't pay attention. She is a once-in-a-generation engine of growth, and Team USA is choosing to build around her while the momentum is impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Wilson, despite her incredible talent, has to face a version of the sport she wasn't prepared for. A version where popularity matters, where marketability matters, where the player who brings the world with her gets the nod over the player who believes her resume should speak for itself. That isn't disrespect. That's evolution. Women's basketball is expanding faster than ever, and the people in charge are making decisions based on what that expansion requires. And whether Wilson likes it or not, Caitlin Clark is the center of that transformation. So now the big question lands on the table. Team USA made their choice. Caitlin Clark is in. Aya Wilson is out. Do you think that decision was fair? Or do you believe Wilson was disrespected in this process? Drop your thoughts below, because this debate is far from over. And if you want more coverage of every twist in this unfolding storyline, make sure you like the video and hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. I'll see you in the next one.